Hello and welcome to my first episode of a Sit Down Chat with me, Matthew Pullan, also known as Running Through Cancer. And within this podcast, we will get to know my story as a cancer survivor and now still a cancer patient, unfortunately. And hopefully I can tell you about the suffering and the honest truth behind what goes on with the support in cancer and what happens from diagnosis and the effects of living with cancer. I'm hoping on this podcast I can get people on and talk to them and really dive into what cancer means to them and how it's changed their outlook on life. I'm really positive for this and I'm hoping it can go far. I also have a blog called runningthroughcancer.com, which you can check out on the internet, and I am also on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and that's just Running Through Cancer. So I hope you enjoy my first episode, which will be about my first diagnosis when I was younger and how I dealt with the diagnosis and the after effects of the diagnosis. Hello and welcome to episode 1 of a Sit Down Chat with me, Matthew Pullan, aka Running Through Cancer. And in this episode I want to discuss my first diagnosis when I was 3 years old with a brain tumour. It was an aggressive brain tumour called an ependymoma, which sat in my cerebellum to the left side of my brain. And within this episode I want to discuss how it felt at such a young age and how I dealt with knowing that I had cancer and after having surgery. I also want to discuss the after effects of surgery and having cancer treatment at 3-year-old in 2006. So, let's get on to the podcast. So, as I've just said, I was 3 when I first had cancer. I was really young and I was diagnosed through, my first symptoms were spotted by my nursery nurse. She noticed that my head was tilting towards one side and I was being a bit more clumsy and falling over more. So went to get that checked out off the GP. This is everything that I've been told. I don't know much as I was only 3-year-old. And then they found out that I had a brain tumour after an MRI scan. And then I had surgery at 3-year-old on my brain. And that was successful, removing every part of my tumour. My parents told me it was good that the surgeon I had was a different surgeon to who I was meant to have, because the other surgeon was supposedly really arrogant and did a botched job of another patient, and I luckily had a stand-in who is one of the best in the world. He was called Mr. Kamali and I'm really grateful for him. After surgery I occasionally saw him and he always seemed really pleased with my progression and how I was performing after having such amazing treatment. and he was just really proud of me. So after surgery, I had to learn to walk again, and I don't remember much of it, but I remember learning to walk again, and I remember it was a Sunday and I had to walk to a shop at the end of the corridor of the children's ward I was on. And as it was a Sunday, it was shut, but my parents and I obviously didn't click on. I was 3 at the time, so you wouldn't really expect me to click on. But they said if you can walk to the shop, you can have some flumps. If you don't know what flumps are, you need to search them. They're just like a giant marshmallow stick, and they're just so tasty. I'm now vegetarian, so I do eat them. Still, that is the only meat or like red meat I will touch. It's just gelatin sweets. I can't get enough of them. Because I have a tumour now, I've gone vegetarian, so it's weird. I love gelatin sweets and can't stop eating them, so I'll still eat them now, and it reminds me of the time when I needed to get to the shop. But back to the story, I went a bit off topic there. I was walking to the shop, and I remember it took ages, and I kept falling, and I felt really unwell, but I was really proud of myself when I finally got there. But as it was a Sunday, unfortunately it was shut, so I wasn't very happy with it, obviously, and it was an awful feeling. You achieve so much, and then it just gets put down like that because the shop's not open. It was just stupid, and I was really proud. I was proud of myself, but it was so stupid. I got there, the shop was shut, but luckily the next day my parents went, and then I remember I got a bear, which I still have today, and I got more than one flump. I got loads of flumps, and it was amazing. I'll always remember that from my first surgery and recovering and learning how to walk when I was 3. I was just really impressed, and moving on to after surgery. After surgery was obviously treatment. When I was 3, I didn't have chemotherapy, I just had radiotherapy. And I had 30 sessions of radiotherapy on the brain. But when I was 3, the machines aren't as good as they are now, the radiotherapy machines. So I was just lying on my front, and the machine was getting brought round manually to me, whereas now the machines spin round you. I was lying on my front with a mask, and it was awful. But I remember my brother, he used to go under the machine, and he used to we used to stick our tongues out at each other. It was really nice. But then when obviously the radiotherapy was administered, he would have to leave the room, and I do remember getting upset at that, but I knew it was something that I had to do, even at such a young age. I had a grasp that I had to do it. And even I've had radiotherapy again since then, since I was re-diagnosed, and I've always been able to see the rays. Apparently that's really rare, but I've been able to see the rays and I've been fine with it. But the worst thing about radiotherapy by far was the mask getting made when I was younger. I was one of the first children to have like a plastic mask made in a certain way. And I just remember being on a table and it felt like there was nails going through my face. And there was a lot of banging and stuff. That's what I remember, but I don't think that was the case. Because I've had it done now and it was just really soft when I got it done again. But when I was younger, I remember it was really hard and quite harsh, and it hurt. It did hurt. And I remember squealing about and stuff, but I think I was a good patient. And obviously I think I was a good patient. For a 3-year-old going through that, when I look at that, I think, wow, how did I actually get through it? And then I'll move on to the actual radiotherapy after the mask. I'm missing bits out because I don't exactly know what happened because, as I said, I was 3 at the time and I was very young. I don't think many people remember things from when they were younger, and I know to protect yourself, your mind blocks things out, and it's done a pretty good job of blocking out what happened when I was younger. But I do remember bits, and I can tell you bits, so I can tell you the radiotherapy. The first time I had radiotherapy, I was screaming and kicking about, but they didn't want to put me to sleep because it was like, 5-10 minutes, and I remember they got like some green pads, and to get me to lie down, because I was so young, my parents had said, you can use the green pads. They were like Velcro pads, and it would tie me to the table, and because simply they didn't want to break my neck because I was in a mask and my head couldn't move. I had a forward and back made and they'd like go together, whereas now you just have a forward mask made. So I would break my back if I didn't stay still and my neck would be broken. So looking at it, although at the time I was screaming and stuff, when they eventually got me down and settled, I'm happy they made that decision because I could have done more harm to myself, and as I say, I was only 3, so I didn't really understand what was happening. All I knew was I was getting pinned down to a table by a mask, and I mean, even now you wouldn't even want to do. I wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to do that. Getting pinned down to a table. It was traumatizing, but like I said, even when I was 3, I understood that I had to do it, and I was happy I did do it because it gave me time. It got rid of the tumour, it got rid of the cancer, as they say. But radiotherapy, I did get through that, and apparently throughout that I was really tired and I was on like pills for constipation and stuff, and apparently it wasn't very nice. But I got through that and the cancer went. And it went away from my brain for 14.5 years until I was diagnosed again. But that's for a later story. After my radiotherapy, when I was 3 this is, I was living normally, and then I can't really remember any appointments. I can remember going to the old young oncology unit I used to go to and thinking how old some of the patients were. But now I feel really young being a patient now. Uh, I don't know how I felt when I was younger. I must have felt really, really young. Like, wow. But I remember there was like a pool table and stuff in the young oncology unit. I used to love going there because I'm gonna go back. I used to love going there because it was like a day out, and it was good. I didn't understand what was happening. I know my parents didn't like it, but I kind of enjoyed going because I got to see people, and I got a breakfast out of it. I mean, a good breakfast. There used to be. I went to Pendlebury Hospital, and we used to call something a Pendlebury special, and this was before I was vegetarian. That they did like, it was like you'd ask for a bacon butty, bacon sandwich, or whatever you want to call it, and it was really it was really nice. They did it instead of putting it between bread, they put it between butter and toast, the bacon, and it was just so nice. I remember going, and I used to be like, "Can I have a Pendlebury special?" Because it was so nice. And then I go to a cancer hospital called the Christie's in Greater Manchester, and just loving it. They do like fry-ups and stuff. It was like a good morning out, but obviously I didn't understand the extent to how bad it was. I just thought it was normal, and so these appointments I was going into, I was like, yeah, I'm good now, so I'll enjoy it. And I did enjoy it until recently, because although people think it's horrible, it was my normal, and I was happy for it to be my normal. I mean, you wouldn't want it to be your normal, but going there was just what I did. For example, MRI scans have been a normality for me since I was 3. So going for an MRI scan every 3 months, or every month, every year, every 3 years, every 6 months, you name it, that was just normal, and I'd be happy just to lie there. Now I'm older, I do understand the extent to why I need it, and understand a bad scan is awful, as I found out again. But it was my normal, and it's not an enjoy. It's I had to do it, so I'd miss mornings at school for it. But I was happy doing it because that was what I did. And I did it because I had to. So it's just a morning out for me. Whereas other people are like, oh no. Like, I see older adults complaining about it now, and I want to say something like, I've been doing this since I was 3 years old. You'll be fine. I don't want to be nasty and go, get over it, because I've been doing it since I was 3. Or I understand where they're coming from. Yes, it's scary, but people need to understand. People have been going through it for a lot longer than them. And yes, it does make you anxious. They call it scanxiety for a reason. But I'm not scared, and no one should be. It's like a disco in there, although it's really loud. The worst thing I find about scanners is how cold it is in the room. But I'm more than happy to go in a scanner. Not really anymore, but we'll find out why that is in later podcasts, but I was happy to go in a scanner and let them do what they're doing, stick an injection in me, blood dye in me. I was fine with that because I never expected something to show up, and it didn't until I was, I don't know how, I was 12, I think, and a carcinoma showed up, which is basically just, they call it a tumour, but it's a little ball of nerves, and I was happy with it because I knew this is fine. People are like, this is the end of the world, but it's better than, my view on it is, a lot of people have them and don't know about it, so just get on with it. Just be careful because you know it's there, and if it pops, you know it's really not good. But you just need to be open and honest with it and be frank with yourself. This is not the end of the world. Yes, they used to check up on it, but it was not the end of the world. So that was when I was 12. I'll go back to when I was, I don't know, I was 7 or 9, and I had a massive blood test because you get late effects from radiotherapy, and obviously my radiotherapy wasn't as accurate due to it being an older machine. And I remember that it was just a massive blood test. I was there with my mum, and they expected me to throw up, but I didn't. And apparently they'd brought sick bills in, but I didn't have a clue. So, but it was an all-day thing, and it was something. It was an experience. I wouldn't say it's good, but something to do. And that discovered that I wasn't growing properly, so my pituitary gland, that is, I said that wrong, but my pituitary gland wasn't producing growth hormone. It was pretty much producing naught. So from like the age of 7 or 9, I was taking growth hormone injections until I was re-diagnosed at the age of 17. So I've been taking injections as long as I remember. So needles, they still hurt, don't get me, there's obviously still a sharp prick with them, and I'm fine with that. But I know they do you good, so need to get on with it. And so I was taking that for, I took that for about 9-10 years until, like I said, I was re-diagnosed. But my cancer experience when I was younger, I think it was alright, and I had the best surgeon in the world, but my support was great. There was a nurse, she probably wouldn't like to be mentioned, but she was called Pullan, and she supported me all the way. She owns a charity called Child Flight, and that takes sick kids abroad to like Disneyland in Florida. And they also do trips to a different charity called When You Wish Upon a Star, does trips to Finland, to Lapland to see Santa at Christmas, and I was lucky enough to go on that twice, and I was really, it was amazing, and I was buzzing to be able to go on it twice. The first time was when I was a lot younger, just after my cancer. My twin brother came, and we were with, so I was a child who just had cancer. We were with kids who had cancer, but The funny thing was, my twin brother was the sickest. He had nothing. He just had tonsillitis, and we're here with all these sick kids, and he's throwing up on the plane and stuff because he's got tonsillitis. I remember going, it was just so great, but my brother was so ill. It was just a great time because all these celebrities go on it and stuff, and it was amazing. And the second time was even better because my little brother got to go on it that time. It was after my mother sadly passed away from cancer, and we had a great time then as well. I mean, it's not good you get to go on these trips, but you have a good time. And it's vital these charities keep going, so if you want to make a donation, I'll try and put them in the notes down below of When You Wish Upon a Star and Child Flight, who allowed me, my family to go away to Disneyland in Florida. Is it Disney World? Walt Disney? I don't know. But we went to all these different places, and this was in winter near my birthday. I actually had my birthday abroad in Florida, and it was so good that I made a few friends and had a great time. It was a blast. It was so warm and it was lovely. I think I turned 9 or something, and it was just really nice. Or was it 7? I don't know, I was young. But I enjoyed it. But like I said, you don't want to be going on these things, but when you've been on them, you feel so lucky that you've had the chance, and I know other people haven't had the chance. And that's why we need more funding for these types of charities. I managed to make a few friends. Unfortunately, their prognosis wasn't as good as mine. I lived, and I feel bad that they unfortunately passed away, but they were great people, and we need to campaign to get rid of. They also died of brain tumours, so we need to get rid of brain tumours and just campaign for a change, which I do. But I feel like I've been going on for ages now. I need to get back on track. Where was I? So I'll have notes written down. So, and then I think I'll go on to my school. So I went to primary school and secondary school. I finished primary school in, I don't want to say a year because it'll just be wrong, 2014 I think. My mother died in 2012 unfortunately. And after finishing school, we moved area, and so me and my twin brother, we went to a high school in a different area. And yes, the school we went to, I'm not going to name it, was one of the roughest schools around here, supposedly, and supposedly the worst. I've had a blast. My twin brother was head boy, I was deputy head boy, and I've made loads of friends from it, and I'm really proud to say that I went to that school, although people aren't, because the school's not known for many good things. I am very proud for going to that school, and I can say that. And in that school, I got good grades. I performed in school competitions, like I was in the basketball team and football team. the basketball was a bit more successful than the football, as I don't know, but I hope you find out in a later podcast episode that basically our team got second in year 9 and I was in that team and I was really proud of us. But yeah, I really enjoyed school. I may have hit a bit of a mental health problem in year 10, but supposedly that happens. And the school really looked after me. I had counselling for ages. I just had problems with my friends, but the school were perfect, and even when I was bullied in year 7, they looked after me, and I may have been battered, but I was fine. And I know other schools would brush that in under the carpet, and my school was an honest school, and they're not just going to say no bullying happens, because bullying happens in every school. And I was happy that with my deputy head role in year 11, I was a student mental health, a student support and mental health ambassador or something, and I could help support people, and I love that job, because I know from someone that suffered that it's hard to suffer, and just be yourself and talk to people, because people suffer in silence and they need a voice. And if they can have someone to talk to, like me or someone else who's an outsider to the situation, it's much better, because problem shared's a problem halved, as people say. And I did have counselling for about 4 or 5 years to get me right, but it worked and I sticked with it. I knew I'd feel alright again, and I always suggest that other people, if they're feeling so down, that they get help and are honest with themselves that they need help. But that's a rant over. I'll move on to college, which I also had counselling. They were great. But college, I'll go to my first year just before I had my re-diagnosis. So the first year, at GCSE I finished with quite good GCSEs. I was not the top person ever, but I finished with decent GCSEs. And I picked English language, business studies, and I said if I got a 7 in history, I'd pick history at A-level, so I ended up doing history at A-level, and I loved every subject I did, I really did. And I did really enjoy classes. I made a lot of friends at college, some that I met on the National Citizen Service Scheme in England, which you can do after finishing school. And they went to my college, and some new faces at my college, which I loved meeting. I was also part of the student ambassador, so got to meet a few people there, and still in touch with them, really happy. But I really enjoyed college. I love the aspect of a bit more freedom, and I can't say a bad word about the college I went to. And then COVID struck, which we all know is the pandemic, which they call it. So it all went online, and it suited me because I started to run earlier that year, because my twin brother runs, which you'll find out in a later episode, and I'm hoping to get him speaking on the podcast as well, but he doesn't know that yet. But yeah, I loved it, and it really did suit me because I could be online, and also I could go for more runs. And then I was really physically fit before my re-diagnosis, which I actually found because I was running. I started, I think this might overlap into the next video, but I'll just say I found out because of my running. And the appointment before I was diagnosed, I had this doctor who said there's cancer's not coming back, and I just looked at my dad when he said that and was like, what have you said? But he wrote it really nicely and said he suggested that and didn't say that, so nothing can happen. But then I was, after running and being really fit, doing some races, I went back to the hospital and I was re-diagnosed. In the next episode, I will talk about my re-diagnosis of a different brain tumour, a different primary brain tumour, and explain the symptoms behind it. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and please leave a comment down below if you have. I feel like a proper YouTuber, but please like, share and subscribe to this video, and also comment what you'd like to hear on the podcast, because this might be very new, but I want it to become a normal thing. And like I said at the start, I'm hoping to have guests on it and just have an all-round conversation, because this is a sit-down chat where we deal with honest truths, so there will probably not be any editing to this, because I want it to be very honest, and I want our voice to be heard. So I don't really share a political agenda, and I want to keep it that way. I just want to say the experience that me and other people have been through, and if I can share that now, I'm happy to do so. I need to get a positive out of a bad situation, and if this is my positive, I will do that. So thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe and leave a comment below.